This is Audible.
Recorded Books presents Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules, by Jeff Kinney. Narrated by Ramon Diocampo. September. Monday. I guess Mom was pretty proud of herself for making me write in that journal last year, because now she went and bought me another one. But remember how I said that if some jerk caught me carrying a book with diary on the cover, they were going to get the wrong idea? Well, that's exactly what happened today. And that jerk was my brother Roderick. He called me a sissy and punched me in the back. Sissy? Now that Roderick knows I have another journal, I better remember to keep this one locked up. Roderick actually got a hold of my last journal a few weeks back, and it was a disaster. But don't even get me started on that story. Even without my Roderick problems, my summer was pretty lousy. Our family didn't go anywhere or do anything fun, and that's Dad's fault. Dad made me join the swim team again, and he wanted to make sure I didn't miss any meets this year. While other parents yelled words of encouragement like, "Kill him, Brandon," and "No mercy, Todd," my dad had to settle for, "Stop shivering, Greg." Dad's got this idea that I'm destined to be a great swimmer or something, so that's why he makes me join the team every summer. At my first swim meet a couple of years ago, Dad told me that when the umpire shot off the starter pistol, I was supposed to dive in and start swimming. But what he didn't tell me was that the starter gun only fired blanks. I was a whole lot more worried about where the bullet was going to land than I was about getting myself to the other end of the pool. So for the first few races, I just sunk to the bottom and stayed put. Even after Dad explained the whole starter pistol concept to me, I was still the worst swimmer on the team. But I did end up winning Most Improved at the awards banquet at the end of the summer. That's only because there was a 10-minute difference between my first race and my last one. So, I guess Dad's still waiting for me to live up to my potential. In a lot of ways, being on the swim team was worse than being in middle school. First of all, we had to be at the pool by 7:30 every morning, and the water was always freezing cold. And second of all, we were all crammed into 2 lanes, so I always had somebody on my tail trying to get around me, even if that meant swimming under me. The reason we had to use 2 lanes was because swim practice was at the same time as the water jazz class. I actually tried to convince Dad to let me do water jazz instead of swim team, but he wouldn't go for it. "Come on, ladies, get those arms up." It looked like fun. This was the first summer the coach let us boys wear swim trunks instead of those skimpy racing trunks. But Mom said Roderick's hand-me-down bathing suit was perfectly fine. "Your friends will be jealous because you'll be so fast," she said. If they were jealous, they showed it by pointing at my racing trunks and laughing. Ha ha ha. After swim practice, Roderick would pick me up in his band's van. Mom had this crazy idea that if me and Roderick spent quality time on the ride home every day, we wouldn't fight as much. But all it did was make things a lot worse. Roderick was always a half-hour late picking me up. And he wouldn't let me sit up front. He said the chlorine would ruin his seat, even though the van is something like 15 years old. "Get in the back." Roderick's van doesn't actually have any seats in the back, so I had to squeeze in with all the band equipment. And every time the van came to a stop, I had to pray I didn't get my head taken off by one of Roderick's drums. Ah! I ended up walking home every day instead of getting a ride from Roderick. I figured it was better to just walk the 2 miles than to get brain damage riding in the back of that van. Halfway through the summer,